Presentations will be given in a random order that was drawn shortly before, and there will be 7 contestants, one after another. There'll be a minute or 2 between each contestant to allow the judges to complete their ballots. National Management Association reaches out to Toastmasters International as a partner in the judging process. So today we have members of both National Management Association chapters from the Hanford, the Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association, and the Energy Northwest chapter, as well as local area Toastmasters to serve as judges, timers. They are all skilled in the art that's being practiced today. We use multiple judges because, as the speakers know, they're talking to an audience where everyone hears it slightly different. So with multiple judges, that evens out the individual preferences. Now let us begin the 2015 National Management Association Speech Contest. Here is contestant number 1 with Leadership in Space. Leadership in Space, contestant number 1.
As the siren sounds, you hear the computer speaking beneath the alarm. Time, T+2, serious threat, zone red. You flip the threat card and it's the Juggernaut, the first alien to appear, and it has to be one of the worst. You scramble to see who has the right cards to deal with the threat. Peter leaps to the rescue. But before anything can be organized, zzz, communications cut out. All you hear is the sound of static for the next 20 seconds as your doom descends from above. This is one scenario from Space Alert. It is a cooperative board game that my family received for Christmas, where you have to survive in space by killing the monsters that attack your ship. There is a CD program that dictates the missions in real time, during which you play response cards. You start out with test runs to learn how to play, and eventually go on to harder and harder missions. After the jump to hyperspace, you review everyone's moves in slow motion, like game film, so to speak, to see whether or not you survived. There are no assigned roles in the game, but by family custom we have come to assign certain roles such as captain, communications officer, to allow the game to run more smoothly. The role of captain is obviously a leadership role. In his book, How Successful People Lead, Dr. John Maxwell identifies 5 levels of leadership. The first level he calls leadership of position. In other words, you are in a leadership position because you were given a title. That's kind of like me being captain of Space Alert because I am the oldest kid playing. Dr. Maxwell thinks that people who use their title to make others do what they want are not leading. They are bossing. That would definitely be me. When I'm captain, it's not pretty. I yell at everyone and grab their cards I'm not supposed to. I threaten them all. Brian yells back and Shelby pouts. It's disaster. Only reason I'm ever captain in Space Alert is because when the kids play by themselves, I have seniority because I have played more missions. The second level of leadership is called leadership by permission. When the kids play Space Alert with my dad or older brother Nick, they permit them to be captain because they know that Dad and Nick will recognize their individual contributions as valuable. Nick is a good captain because he is very calm. He doesn't tell people to do things or grab their cards or micromanage. He just leaves everyone take care of their own responsibilities or helps them when they are confused. He doesn't panic when there's a crisis and everyone is doing their stuff wrong. Say there's a monster in Blue Zone. He just tells the people to go over there to go take care of it. He doesn't tell them which specific cards to play, just lets them take care of it. Everyone likes playing with Nick as captain. When Dad plays captain during Space Alert, he sometimes gets a little loud, like when Peter runs into the wall because he turned the wrong direction again, or when everyone is talking at once and worrying about the wrong monster. Even though Dad yells at people occasionally, he is still our favorite captain most time because he exhibits the third level of leadership, which Dr. Maxwell calls the production level. People follow you because of what you have produced for the organization, and Dad has produced a lot of wins. Dr. Maxwell's fourth level of leadership is called people development. This is the level where Dad or Nick will begin to train some of us to take over as captain when we become a little bit older and not so bossy. Good leaders develop leadership in others. Finally, there is the fifth and last level of leadership, which Dr. Maxwell defines as the pinnacle, where leaders often transcend their community, their organization, and sometimes even their industry. We're talking about the level of Captain Kirk here, and I don't know if any of us are ever going to reach that point. Leadership books and seminars and speeches are all very well, but a leader is shown by what he does and doesn't do. These were 3 examples from my family while they were under stress during Space Alert. From these examples, we learn that I have a long way to go. I need to begin taking the other players into consideration, try to be calm, listen to my crew, and help them out. Maybe then they will actually want me to be captain. Maybe then we'll actually survive. You're not a good leader if all your followers end up dead. I don't know if any of us are going to be the next Captain Kirk, but it sure is fun to imagine when you hear the alarm go off and listen to the computer detail threats, just as if you're piloting the Enterprise. If I could at least get my crew home, that would be good.
Please maintain silence while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 2. What is a leader? Who is a leader? What is a leader? Who is a leader? Contestant number 2.
What is a leader? Who is a leader? Can it be found in the human will, in our society, in you? The Webster's Dictionary describes it as a person who has commanding authority and influence. A leader is someone to look up to for help. We all have some sort of leader in our life, whether it's a parent, coach, teacher. Parents play important leader roles in our life. They're the ones that provide for you the little things that matter, such as food, water, drink, clothes. So many of us take these things for granted that we have forgotten that it is all earned through their hard work. Parents are there to protect you. When you're frightened, you run to them for comfort. They're there for you in times of need and guidance. Our leaders are important, and it's crucial that we look up to the good ones. But what are the important characteristics of a leader? They're the ones that inspire us to want to crave to be just leaders, the ones we trust and believe in. Our leaders are very dear to us because they assist and encourage us in all that we do. They have a huge influence on us. That is why they're so valuable. I've had many leaders in my life, one being my father. He works very hard to feed our family every day. He drives me and my brother to school. When it is freezing cold outside, he's kind enough to build a nice warm fire to keep us all warm. He pays for me and my younger sister to swim, which is incredibly expensive. Another leader in my life would be my mother. She always wants the best for me, encouraging in all that I do. When me and my brother have to ride the bus home, she will occasionally come to Walmart to pick us up so we don't have to walk. She drives me and my younger sister to swim practice 5 days a week. My older sister has been a leader in my life also. Whenever I need help on something, she's always willing to help. For instance, if I have a question on my math. Last summer at 5 o'clock in the morning, she would drive me and my younger sister to swim practice without complaining. All of these family members have shown me what it means to be a good leader and have helped me want to strive to be one also. But why is it so vital to be an upright leader? The power of the leader is very great. They have the capacity to change many things and often can have a lot of control over many people also. If we have an unjust leader that is deliberately doing things wrong, it can be hard to stop them. People who are leaders are them for a reason. They have proven that they have the capacity to be a good leader. An example of a remarkable leader would be Saint Joan of Arc. She went from a poor country girl to a great general of the French. She was courageous, kind, genuine, honest. In fact, she was so courageous that she died for her faith and country at a very young age of 19 years, and several decades later was canonized a saint. There are numerous amount of leaders that have given us a perspective of how to become a moral leader, and it's up to us to follow in their footsteps. I've also been exposed to leadership through swimming. Leading the lane, which is going first, often cannot be an easy task. Our coach gives us a certain send-off which we are supposed to make for each lap we swim, and we must calculate when we must swim next. Also, when leading the lane, our coach and swim mates are relying on you to successfully lead the lane on the correct interval that was given. Leadership often can be difficult because you have a lot of people depending on you. And if you fail, you're not only failing yourself, but everyone else. That is why many of us do not have the courage or strength to be a leader. We are not willing to take that challenge, that leap of faith. But everyone has a leader in them that can grow to become something incredible. You are a leader.
Please have silence for 2 minutes while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 3. Life in a Bed of Roses. Life in a Bed of Roses. Contestant number 3.
Do you aspire to be somebody, or do you aspire to be a leader? Somebody and a leader are not the same thing. Take it from someone who knows. I'm somebody, as in somebody needs to pick up around here, or somebody needs to clean out the garage, or somebody needs to mow the lawn. My name used to be Alex, and then one day my mom sent us all out to weed the rose garden. We weren't too thrilled about this idea, but my brother Nick took charge as usual. Within a half an hour, we all had new designations. I was somebody, of course. My sisters were everybody, anybody, and nobody. My older brother was hey you. They all had a blast. They thought it was cool. Didn't turn out so well for me, though. Every time a particularly unpleasant job came up, somebody had to do it. How about that? So really the person to be in this situation is hey you, my older brother. And certainly other people I've talked to say Nick is a great leader. And I have to wonder, what is it about bossy old Nick that makes him such a great leader? I mean, we're talking about the guy who lets a tarantula loose in his dorm, the guy who goes swimming in the Atlantic Ocean every Thanksgiving. It's not exactly what leaders are made of. On the other hand, this same person, he builds stilts, forts, ladders. He embarks on insane quests to climb trees, rocks, and buildings. And people just fall in line to do what he says, learn the rules, dig the dishes, and put life and limb at risk. It's crazy. I suspect what Nick has that makes people listen to him is people skills. And I did a little research as to what people skills entails. And here's what I've come up with. Communication. Communication is definitely top of everybody's list. And a lot of people think that communication is expressing your thoughts or feelings well to other people. But not only that, but you have to be attentive to the thoughts and feelings of other people. Nick has somewhat of a leg up on this. I've known him to listen to a speech and then quote parts of it verbatim. People really perk up when they realize that he's paying attention to what they have to say. Nick also has his own way with words. As an assistant judo instructor, he used to come up with reminders so pithy, our sensei used to copy them down on the whiteboard for the next class. Quote, "The mat should rock with the concussion of your slap," unquote. My favorite, coined while weeding the rose garden is, quote, "I am providing assistance from a distance," unquote. Collaboration is another area which Nick stands out. Collaboration is the new updated term for delegating. You know what that means. Somebody has to do it. The neat thing about collaboration is that it provides leverage. For example, one person can pull a certain number of weeds in an hour, but the same person can train 7 siblings And all of a sudden, the 7 siblings are almost done, while Hey You is out securing more work for anybody, everybody, nobody, and somebody. Consideration, finally, consideration. Consideration is the part of people skills which influences how other people react to you. We weren't too thrilled about going out to weed the rose garden, but my brother Nick rose to the occasion magnificently, if you'll pardon my pun. He realized that it was not the task that needed to be dealt with, but the dismay of weeding the rose garden. He didn't manage, direct, supervise, streamline. He simply replaced the dismay with the anticipation of an exciting new game, and voila, weeding the rose garden had become the vehicle for the afternoon's entertainment. In retrospect, I can see that Nick was on to something here. Yes, he spoke well, he listened well, he behaved well, and he delegated well. But the key to all these actions is that it did not only involve him, but they involved him in relationships with other people. Leadership isn't about the leader, it's about the ship, so to speak. All the other people on the journey with you. Communication, collaboration, and consideration allow other people to feel involved, as if their contribution counts. One of the 5 levels of leadership, according to leadership guru John Maxwell, is people skills. And polishing your people skills, as Nick did that afternoon in the Rose Garden and on so many other countless occasions, is what leads to the pinnacle of leadership. Speaking as someone who knows, you don't want to be a mere somebody, as in somebody needs to get this done. You want to be the person, the hey you, that people go to get things done. The person who practices his leadership, his people skills, is well on his way to the pinnacle of leadership.
They have 2 minutes of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 4. Just do it. Just do it. Contestant number 4.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to share with you a story about a young man who graduated from high school and joined the Marines. He was deployed and while overseas did many courageous deeds, but one time he was caught in the thickest of fire. Shells exploded around him and he watched his fellow comrades fall beside him dead. A retreat was necessary, and on the way back to safety, barely avoiding bullets and bleeding profusely himself, the Marine came upon a wounded soldier lying on the ground dying. He didn't even hesitate. He stooped down, picked the man up, and placed him on his own shoulders, greatly increasing the chances of he himself getting killed. Eventually, the two did make it back to the American base, and when they arrived, the medic came and realized that this man was extremely close to death, and so set to work immediately, barely saving the man's life. The Marine was later asked why he risked his own life to save that of a man who should have already been dead. His response? Because I'm an American, and that's just what we do. George J. Flynn, a retired lieutenant general in the U.S. Marine Corps, explains the Marines' simple yet highly effective approach to leadership. He said, when you are with the Marines gathering to eat, you will notice that the most junior are served first, while the most senior are served last. You will also notice that no order is given. Marines just do it. He goes on to say that Marine leaders are expected to eat last because they teach that the true price of leadership is the willingness to place the needs of others above one's own. Great leaders truly care about those they are privileged to lead and understand that the true cost of the leadership privilege comes at the expense of self-interest. So today, let's take a closer look at this simple yet incredible style of leadership called the self-sacrificing style of leadership, and ask the question, what if? For you see, while this style of leadership is simple, it is by no means easy. It requires 3 things. First, the willingness to place the needs of others, no matter who they are, above one's own. Second, the willingness to sacrifice what is yours to save what is theirs. And third, the willingness to forgive others, no matter if that forgiveness is earned or deserved. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you all, but I can do the first 2. I can place the needs of others above my own, and I can sacrifice what is mine. But when it comes to the third, forgiveness, it's difficult. I think we'd all agree it can almost sometimes seem impossible. But yet, as I did my research, I found that some of the most influential leaders of our time have shared one common characteristic. They chose to forgive. One of the best examples of this type of forgiveness is that of Nelson Mandela. He was imprisoned unjustly for 27 years, sentenced to hard physical labor, and he was tortured by racists for being anti-racist. And yet upon his release from prison, instead of harboring hatred and bitterness against his persecutors, he offered nothing but forgiveness and love. He was more than willing to place the needs of others above his own. And in 1990, he was elected president of South Africa. His country at that time was not only facing high unemployment and crime rates, but severe racial challenges as well. The black majority did not get along with the white supremacists. In an effort to counter this, Nelson Mandela convinced and worked directly with the white captain Francois Pienaar of the country's rugby team. Together, the two of them united a nation that had been torn apart by 50 years of racial tension. Mandela shared two life-changing truths with Pienaar. First, that to be free is not merely just to be rid of one's own chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. And second, no man is born hating another person. People must learn to hate. And if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Remember our Marine from the beginning? Well, there's one final twist to the story. The soldier whom the Marines saved was not a U.S. soldier. He was an enemy soldier, and the Marine knew it. And yet, the Marine was willing to risk his own life to save that of an enemy. There is no greater love than this. So, ladies and gentlemen, what if? What if we were to apply this self-sacrificing style of leadership? What would happen? Our Marine saved a man's life. Nelson Mandela saved his country. Imagine what you and I could do. For his legendary basketball coach, John Wooden once said, "Be more concerned about what you can do for others than what others can do for you. You'll be surprised at the results. Just do it."
We have 2 minutes of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 5, discipline, the cornerstone of leadership. Discipline, the cornerstone of leadership. Contestant number 5.
What makes a good leader? Many people ask this question while searching for the answer as to how they can achieve this goal. We all have had leaders in our lives, both good and bad, and have learned from each of them. A good leader consists of a person in whom you can trust, and in hard times is there to pick you up when you fall. We all need these people in our lives, from teachers, parents, coaches, religious leaders. The list continues. Your parents, for example, raised you and helped you make decisions for the best. In my life, I have had countless. The one outside of the family that has had the most influence is Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is a worldwide organization that helps instill many critical qualities into young men. Both the Boy Scout oath and law list the lifestyles that these men are to live, a life of community service, and to help those who are less fortunate. The Boy Scout oath lays the very foundation on which to begin the building of a quality leader. The cornerstone for this foundation is the principle of discipline. Without discipline, the other characteristics derived from the oath and law, such as my honor and duty to God and country, and trustworthy, kind, obedient, and reverent, will not be allowed to be carried out and allowed to flourish. Why do I say that discipline is the cornerstone of leadership? Because leadership starts with self-discipline. My home troop of 159 has many adult leaders who devote countless hours doing the best job they are able, trying to instill the common ideals of a leader into these young men. Every month, Troop 159 goes on a camp out. Here is where the true test of your leadership skills come into play. On this particular outing, we all decided to go on a hike. We're all excited and quickly packed up for the 3-mile hike to the landmark and back. As we returned, a clique of the boys ran up ahead, despite our Scoutmaster's rule, the pace of the slowest man. Shortly after the boys were down the trail, our Scoutmaster became ill, having a drop in blood sugar. The few remaining scouts who understood discipline frantically pulled together our resources, trying to reverse the effect and restabilize his blood sugar. The best we could come up with was a granola bar and a bottle of Powerade, just enough for him to be able to continue on despite the fact that he was still weak and fatigued. Luckily, we had the necessary items we needed to reverse the effect. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys were running and having a jolly time. If they would have obeyed the rules, we would have had less of a problem pulling together the necessary items in helping our Scoutmaster remain with us. In my troop, I have seen many young men rise to the occasion and become a great leader. A study done in 2013 shows that 89% of senior class presidents were Boy Scouts. Meanwhile, 85% being student council presidents and FBI agents. An average of 61% of U.S. military academy graduates were involved in scouting. Good leaders bring out the best in a person and help develop the character needed to help your community, state, and country live, grow, and thrive. Community service is one of the key components in scouting. A study done the same year shows that on average, the Boy Scouts of America in 2013 gave that year alone a total of over $5.5 billion in service. By helping others and expecting nothing in return, Boy Scouts shows young men at an early age the valuable lesson of self-leadership. Self-leadership is the very ideal on which America was created. Without self-leadership, we would not be able you cannot expect to be an excellent leader. To have self-leadership, you must have discipline, be concise, and must have selflessness. Boy Scouts instills all of these qualities into young men. I am ever indebted to those people who have helped me learn these qualities. I am learning discipline because it is the cornerstone of leadership.
Two minutes of silence, please, while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 6, the importance of focus. The importance of focus, contestant number 6.
I once heard a story told about 2 men who formed a business partnership. They obtained a small pickup truck and set up a shed next to a busy road. They drove the truck to a nearby farmer's field, where they purchased a truckload of melons for $1 each. They drove their truckload of melons to their stand, where they sold them for $1 each. After emptying the truck, they went back to the farmer's field and bought another truckload of melons for $1 each. They then sold these melons for $1 each. On the way back to the farmer's field for another load, one partner turned to the other and said, "We're not making much money on this business, are we?" "No, we're not," his partner said. "Do you think we need a bigger truck?" Many times, it seems that we dive into leadership opportunities without giving it much more thought than these two men gave to their business. But these two men didn't need a bigger truck. They needed a better plan. As leaders, what we need is not a bigger truckload of tasks, but a clearer focus on the tasks that we already have. I've developed an acronym around the word focus that highlights 5 key tools a good leader should utilize: formulate, organize, connect, unify, simplify. The first step is to formulate. Before someone can become a leader, they need to have a goal. Consider Bill Gates, who at a time when computers were as big as rooms, set a goal to put a computer on every desk in the world. Although his goal was lofty, it was clear and it was focused. When a leader sets such a goal, they elicit more support from their team members. People are much more willing to follow someone who is confident in their goal. As John C. Maxwell said, a leader's attitude is caught by his or her followers more quickly than his or her actions. The next step is to organize. After a goal has been set, it needs to be broken down into steps. There's a quote attributed to Creighton Abrams which says, "When eating an elephant, take one bite at a time." The same goes for accomplishing our goals. We can't simply shove the entire elephant down our throat at once. Instead, we need to break it into measurable pieces, small milestones on the path to our end goal. The next step is to connect. When Mother Teresa began her work in Calcutta, she dressed in a sari rather than a traditional nun's habit. This simple gesture showed that she placed herself not above the people, but equal to them. She understood the importance of honoring the individual. In Leo Tolstoy's short story, The Three Questions, he reminds us that the most important time is now. The most important person is the one right in front of you. And the most important task is to show kindness to that person. The next step is to unify. A good leader not only connects individually with team members, they connect their team members with each other. Financial guru Dave Ramsey often illustrates the principle of unity by speaking about Belgian horses. He tells how a Belgian draft horse can load up to 6,000 pounds. Logically, you would assume that 2 Belgian horses can pull twice that much. In reality, 2 Belgian draft horses can pull up to 24,000 pounds. If they are a matched team, meaning that they were trained together, they can pull as much as 32,000 pounds. A good leader understands this principle of unity. They know that a unified team compounds results exponentially. Last, but certainly not least, we need to remember to simplify. Too often, we equate busyness with productivity, when in reality, true leadership is not about complicating things, but simplifying them. When asked about Apple's relatively small product line, late founder and CEO Steve Jobs said, "You have to pick carefully." He understood that you have to say no to hundreds of good ideas so that you can focus on a few great ideas. In conclusion, leadership is all about focus. Formulating a plan, organizing our efforts, connecting with individuals, unifying our team, and simplifying our tasks. As we do so, we will find that our leadership becomes more effective and our goals more attainable. Thank you.
Two minutes of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Contestant number 7, the next greatest generation. The next greatest generation, contestant number 7.
Many of you have heard or read the book, The Greatest Generation by Tom Burkow, about those who grew up during the Great Depression and fought in World War II. We all have parents, grandparents, or other relatives who are part of this generation. But I'd submit to you that your achievements are every bit as great as theirs. I wish I could say I'm the person that many people see me as, but truth is, my life hasn't been as simple as it may seem. I grew up in a troubled household with 3 sisters and a single mom who was working full-time and trying to go back to school. It caused us to have to fight for her attention. That was hard for me to understand as a kid because all I thought was my mom didn't have time for me. This caused me to spend a lot of time alone. Looking back, I see this time taught me to look for leadership from within. Because how could I be expected to lead others if I couldn't even lead myself? This is because, as Gandhi famously put it, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. Teaching myself to lead from within was hard, but I always had amazing people to back me up. These people came in many different forms, such as teachers, loved ones, and even friends. It took me a while to realize that some of the best leaders I will ever meet were my teachers. They spend their whole life leading our country's future leaders for what, little benefits? It's amazing how you can see the passion in their eyes when they talk about their kids. Yes, us, their students. I still remember a teacher I had from 2nd grade. She put so much love into her work with me. She made me feel like I was her own kid. And right now, I'm in 4-H to help my chances of getting in veterinary school. And I have an amazing leader. She lets me come out to her house and work one of her rescue horses, Hazel. God, she's taught me so much about these beautiful creatures and how you have to build trust and maintain that trust. It still surprises me how she trusts me to come out and work with her animals after so many kids before me have just abused this trust. These people, without realizing it, are changing the world. They are forming our country's future leaders. They look at us and see potential where we see nothing but another waste of space, leaving us with amazing memories in return that are helping us become these great leaders. I did a lot of thinking about this whole leadership thing. It crossed my mind. Am I a leader? I now understand that people have been looking for me to lead without me even realizing it. I see it in the younger kids who look up to me because they learn from older peers like me. My generation is full of kind, caring people who just want to help because they can and don't expect anything in return. Just look at bullying. It used to be terrible, but we are slowly making it better. I remember in elementary school, I was bullied. Who wasn't? Because back then, no one did anything about it. Well, once I hit high school, I started sticking up for those being bullied because I knew what it was like to feel like you don't have any self-worth, and nobody should have to feel like that. I noticed I wasn't the only one doing it, though. People were now standing up for each other. It was amazing. I still look up to those who stop and stand up for those being bullied instead of joining in with the bullies. I have the privilege to be a part of this amazing generation who is slowly changing the world. And a lot of time, they don't even realize it. We aren't doing it alone, though. We have the older generations to teach us their wisdom until they're gone. It's a change in direction that starts with you and me. Remember, we are the next greatest generation, and we are looking to you to teach us your guidance and leadership.
There'll be 2 minutes of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. That concludes the 2015 Leadership Speech Contest of the National Management Association. I would like to thank Chief Judge Lisa Hart and ask her and her judging team to join me here before they leave the room to tally the results. And you can applaud for the judges. Please all come down here so you can get on YouTube or thank you, judges. Now go do your work. Thank you. Yeah. I'd also like to thank our team of timers, Joyce Schweer and Jing Wang. And if you'll stand up and wave to Nick. So, Bruce, our inside Sergeant at Arms, Bruce Yang. And most importantly, we had two people out in the lobby sitting with the students, so they didn't get to hear this. Dan Hansen and Ann Perazine, thank them very much. The leadership speech contest is composed of 4 levels of competition. The chapter contest, then a collection of chapters makes up a council. In our case, it's a Columbia Basin Area Council. We held both competitions today in a combined contest. The winner of the Columbia Basin Area Council goes on to represent our council at the West Leadership Development Conference in Spokane on April the 25th to compete with other winners from the Pacific North, Pacific South, and Southwest from large chapters and councils. The top 2 finishers there will go to Reno, Nevada in, I think, the end of October, 1st of November for the national contest, where they'll be competing for a fairly large amount of money and all the adulation due to a winner. As a matter of fact, as you'll find out in the interview, we've had at least one winner here, and we've had a finalist, I think, in 8 of the last 15 years from this small area. Now I know you'd like to meet the students. So Bruce, if you bring the students in their speaking order, all together. So we'll just line them up. All the way over here in order. Wait. As any good interviewer, I did prime these candidates, these speakers, with my questions. I told them the first one I ask is, what's your name and where do you go to school? And then I'm going to sort of go like table topics from there. What's your name and where do you go to school?
My name is Juliana Bayuk, and I'm homeschooled.
Is this your first year in competing?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Now, where did you come up with the topic of leadership in space?
From our game, Space Alert, just by playing, seeing them be captured.
So that was a real life story, because Juliana probably knows, I think she's had a little bit of coaching in leadership and public speaking, that never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But that was all true, right?
Mostly, yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Do you have anything else that you want to add? We'll probably get back because we may have some more time. Think about it if you have any questions. Your name and school?
I'm Alyssa Workman, and I'm homeschooled.
Is this your first year in competition?
Yes, it is.
Have you had anyone else who's in competition?
Yes, I have had 5 other siblings do it.
You see, the usual suspects, occasionally the thing runs in families, and they learn that this is a good deal. How'd you come up with the topic for your speech?
Well, it's just sort of like people in my family that have shown me leadership.
Okay, and think if you have any questions, we'll be back. Your name, sir, and where do you go to school?
I'm Alex Bayuk, and I'm homeschooled as well.
Oh, and is this your first year competing?
No, this is my second year.
Second year. And the idea for the speech is, that's different. I don't think I've heard that one before.
It's pretty much real.
Yeah, it's
all of it.
As you may have noticed, we have a brother and sister here, and they both talked about Nick. Who wants to tell me about Nick, because this may be important?
Nick is our older brother. He's in college right now, but he did the speech contest for several years, I think.
And
3 or
how
4.
did he do?
He won nationals one year, and he consistently won this contest.
So
Did really well.
working their way along. Your name and your schools, young lady.
My name is Dulcinea Camp, and I go to Winifred High School in Winifred, Montana. Any other questions, Mr. Schwer?
Yes. Have you done this before?
You know, yes, I have. This is my last year that I can do it, though, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. Dulcinea has done it. Well, how have you done in the past? You done well at the local level?
Not too shabby.
Have you advanced to national?
A couple times.
And how'd you do?
I got second both times.
Now, you may say only second. If you get first, you can't go back. So she recognized you get second because that's the next highest place and you accumulate more money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sir, name and where you go to school.
My name is Nicholas Workman, and I'm homeschooled.
But you also participate in high school athletics, right?
Yes, that is very true. I do 2 sports at Richland High School, cross country and wrestling.
And did you go to state this year in wrestling?
I did. With the grace of God, I took 3rd at state for 4A.
So not only can they communicate in leadership, but they can, did you pin the other person?
No.
No. Well, that's it.
Oh, I did, yes. My bad, I did.
How'd you come up with your topic?
I was just trying to figure out a topic, and it just popped into my head, and those people have really touched my life. So,
as you probably noticed, here again we have 2 with the last name Workman, and they've been a few of them, brothers and sisters. And how many have we had? Workmans have we had?
Like my sister said, we will be the 5th and 6th. So,
thank you very much. Name and height, or name and school.
I'm Sarah Gibbons, and I go to Kamiakin High School.
How'd you come up with the topic for your speech?
Everything that I read mentioned focus at some point, and so I figured it's probably pretty important.
That's a real important subject or point she just made. She said everything she read. You quoted John Maxwell, right? John Maxwell's one of his most famous sayings is, "I've never had an original thought." And if you think about it, about everything we write or say came from someone else, we may not even realize that until later we read that, oh, I thought that was my thought. No, it was someone else's. But so take what you read, cast it into your own words, internalize it, and bring it back like Sarah did. Thank you very much. And final, your name and school?
Kristen, Livieratos, and I go to Richland High and CBC.
You go to CBC, running start?
Yeah.
And you said you're interested in 4-H.
Yeah.
So it's, when you're not at 4-H, do you do any sports or do you observe any sports?
I watch my sister. I don't really do sports besides horseback riding.
Well, do you go to sporting events?
Sometimes.
Which one?
Oh, hockey.
This young lady recognized that it's a great sport because it's legal to beat someone with a stick. And how did you come up with your topic?
Just thinking about leadership and stuff. I mean, when it comes up, you always help to wonder if you're a leader and stuff. And you think about your generation and stuff. It just kind of came to me.
Thank you very much. Once again, a hand for these great young leaders. Now, I know someone out there has a question that they want to ask one of these young leaders, so to help you. Yes, Maria.
You're from Montana?
I am, yes.
How are you here?
By car.
Yeah.
No. Actually, I have somewhat like these other people. I have a history in this competition. My brother used to do it a lot. And so I used to be around Tri-Cities. I went to Richland High, and I recently moved to Montana. And I wanted to still do this competition, so I got permission to come and compete.
But your family still lives here, correct?
Yes.
And her brother was in, he was a national finalist, right?
Yes.
What place did he finish?
Well, he finished 6th, but that was when there were about 12 competitors.
Yeah, but
excuse me, he finished 3rd.
3rd, but
There
you
were 12
finished.
competitors
Yeah, but you finished 2nd. So
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah. I did.
And most of these young people have been part of leadership, public speaking classes that we have run through our National Management Association, which we always offer coaching, so forth. So, yes?
We heard about what some of them did as extracurricular activities. I'd like to hear what everybody else has been doing.
I don't think I asked Sarah. Sarah, what else do you do?
I kind of do a lot of different things. I'm into music. I play the piano, and I love swimming, and I read a lot. So,
how many musicians do we have here? Okay, most of them. How many swimmers? No, we have at least 2 here. Who else didn't get to say their Montana? What are your extracurricular activities?
Brandings. Actually, it kind of is in Montana. I play basketball, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Anyone else have a activity that you want to mention? Questions? Yes, Bob.
Who's coming back next year? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not you?
I'm too old.
Too old? Oh, come on.
As you see, we develop these young people. They develop themselves, and it's amazing, particularly when they've gone through like an 8 or 10, 12-week classes. Their first, you see the development of them, and then after 2 or 3 years, like Dulcinea, you bring them back to teach the class. So.
That'll be exciting. Ready, guys?
Any other questions? Once again, thank you, and go ahead and have a seat, and we'll see the judges take a while, and you can have a seat out here. You don't have to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, the time that we've all been waiting for has come. I get to tell you why we do this contest. There are 4 reasons. The first is to promote a greater understanding in leadership among young high school students, and even more junior than that. Secondly is to engage them in researching, writing, and presenting a speech. Why would we do that? Well, third, because they're building the communication skills that we need for them in the workplace in the future. Because after all, we all do want them to be successful, pay a lot of taxes, one of which is Social Security, and most of you will be like me. You'll be full retirement eligible. Fourth, we're going to give them some financial incentive to give a really good speech, which will help further their education. I would like to thank Nick Wagner of Charter Communications for videoing this for us. We have been in partnership with Charter for 28 years. 14 years ago, Lloyd Swain, who had been the host, the MC for the first 14 years of the contest, came to me. He had been recovering from a cancer surgery and said, Ed, I want you to be the MC. Well, the following year, I said, okay, Lloyd, you get it back? No. So for 14 years, I've had the privilege of doing this, and generally Lloyd was back there filming. We lost Lloyd Monday evening to a long battle of complications, COPD complications from his cancer treatment years ago, but he was a great friend to not only us, but to other parts of the community. You probably remember him from the Crystal Apple, so forth. But there's going to be a memorial on Monday. So look in the paper, you'll see it. It'd be nice, a gentleman who has given so much to the community, and particularly to help build our next greatest generation of young leaders by supporting this contest. Will all of the speakers please join me in the order that they spoke? As I said earlier, we actually conducted 3 contests here, 2 chapter contests, Energy Northwest and Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association, and then the Greater Columbia Basin Area Council. So I'm going to be announcing winners, and you'll hear a few people announced a couple times. In the Energy Northwest, 4th place, Juliana Bayuk. Juliana receives a gift certificate and a certificate.
And a gift card from.
And a gift card. Well,
from Staples.
Yeah. Third place, Energy Northwest, Nicholas Workman, $100. Second place, Energy Northwest, Alex Bayuk, $200. First place in the Energy Northwest contest, Dulcinea Camp, $300. Okay. Thank you, Dulcinea. Mid-Columbia Leadership Development Association, third place, Alyssa Workman, $100. Okay. Second place, Kristen Livieratos, $200. And first place, Sarah Gibbons, $300. Now, a little additional prize money for the two winners. I think, was it already in their envelope? So, Sarah, you are the alternate for our Spokane Leadership Development Conference, and I think you'll find an additional $100 in your envelope. And obviously, our primary, Dulcinea Camp. The winner of the Columbia Basin Area Council. Once again, thank you, judges. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, all the team, timers. Where'd Bruce go? My door guard, thank you. And did the outside people get to come in yet? Oh, Dan Hansen's here. And Bob's lovely wife. Yep. So, thank you very much. We'll see you next year. And pass the word on to anyone who's going to be high school age, because you want them to be successful. Let's get them here next year for the Leadership Speech Contest. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.